Welcome to the Ruby Hour, a podcast produced by our company, Ruby Riot Creatives. We specialize in video production and content marketing, and we're based in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm Shelby Ring.
And I'm Madeline Rager.
This podcast is devoted to interviewing extraordinary people doing extraordinary things and nuggets of wisdom that they've learned along their journey. Also, just want to give you a heads up, we have potty mouths and we're talking about inappropriate things. Thank you so much for joining another episode of the Ruby Hour. My name is Shelby Ring. I have the amazing Meredith Tanton with me today. So before we get started, I always love to do a quick little introduction about who is this amazing person sitting next to me. So Meredith Tanton is the co-owner and principal designer at Sweetgrass Social, a full-service wedding planning company based here in Charleston, South Carolina. When Meredith isn't busy planning her clients' design schemes or building out a minute-by-minute day of itinerary, because that's what wedding planners do for you. They are amazing. Sure. You can find her traveling with her husband and two beautiful daughters. She is a lover of fine hotels, resorts, and in particular, Caribbean destinations. Holla. And as her grandmother always said, if you are going on vacation, it better be somewhere nicer than your home. Otherwise, you might as well just stay at home. So amen to that.
That is true.
Oh my gosh. And on a professional side, so Meredith's work was recently published on Over the Moon, the managing editor to Vogue's blog. So drop the mic on that one. So Meredith, thank you so much for coming
today.
Thanks
for having
me. We have worked together forever. Anytime that I see your name or any of your squad pop up in my inbox, I get super excited.
Thank you.
And I firsthand can attest that you girls totally crush it, and any event we ever are doing together, I'm always like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, we got Meredith, we got Jacqueline, like, we got the crew, like, it's gonna roll. So how did you get into event coordinating? What was your mix of factors that brought you to where you are today?
Well, it's kind of a combination of things. So when I was in college, I worked for the National MS Society. So I saw the nonprofit side of events, which is very different than weddings. I mean, you are managing events for up to 6,000 people. When it comes to some of those events, you're also totally dependent on people's generosity. So you're having to ask for a lot of donations, whereas in weddings, you're working off a set budget. But I mean, it taught me a lot of people skills. It taught me how to go out and to ask for help when I needed it. But it also taught me a lot about logistics. So I feel like that was really where I got my foundation. And then when I moved to Charleston, I started working for another planner on the side and really focused on the day of coordination. If you can do day of, you can do the other part. Because day of is the hardest thing to do, because people are throwing things on you last minute and saying, here's my vision. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you this detail, but you figure it out. Yeah. So you were putting out a lot of fires left and right with that. So that's where I learned and really got my foundation for crisis management when it comes to events, because I will tell you, as an event planner, we also have to be a crisis manager. Yep. Freak accidents, all sorts of crazy things that happen. And then I started working for Amazon and was working for their publishing firm. And Jacqueline and I met there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we had a coworker, and she knew that we both had a background in events, but hadn't had the opportunity to make it a career yet. So she asked if we would do her day of, and we did. We decided to do it together. We even did the florals. Nightmare.
Oh, geez.
Your girl's not a florist. And so then it was really successful. We decided, hey, let's give this thing a shot. And after a year, we were doing it full time. We were not crushing it full time that first year. It definitely takes a while to build, but we're going into our 11th year in January.
That is so
crazy.
Insane. I know, I was going through your onboarding details and I was like, wait, 2009?
Yeah.
Like, that's...
And I graduated college in 2008.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've always been a decisive person, though. I mean, I was one of those people that first semester freshman year, I went in and declared my major and stayed with it. I mean, I've always known, and I think that that's probably why I'm an effective event manager, too, because I can make a decision and I can make it on the fly. But so I decided and committed to this business, and my parents were like, "You're crazy." And the funny thing is, my parents are entrepreneurs. Like, they had their own businesses, and then now they're realtors. But I came from that background, and I was like, hey, pot, kettle. I mean, you think I'm crazy. You made it. So what's to say I won't? And I've always had that personality where I'm like ready to defeat the odds.
Yes.
And so I think because of that, Jacqueline and I just made it a point to make sure that we made it work. So
yeah, that is so awesome. And I mean, I think that's part of why any event we do together, I have that peace of mind of being a vendor in a lineup. Is it's like, oh, like I have full confidence if we are having our vendor meal, speeches are not going to kick off, and like there's like no, it's going to be orchestrated well. And I love that. Like there, the part of me that's like, ooh, type A details, like just like having that clarity that's like so pleasing, that like what you want, you go after it, and you set that trajectory. And I feel like you have to have that level of like go-getter, thick skin, like when you're dealing with however many crises at any given moment on a wedding day, and you do it with that smile on your face and you put everyone at ease. It's like, the bride doesn't know like what is like on fire in the behind the scenes of it, and that's the goal.
Yeah, that's the point of us. I mean, that's the reason that they put us in the position they do. I mean, now post-event they may find out about it. I mean, if there's something that pertains to them, but we don't want to ruin their day. We just take care of it for them. So it's not easy, but we do it.
I love that. I feel like, I mean, we just shot, so Melissa and Justin, one of the first weddings that we did together. So her sister Emily, it was her wedding in Ballantine last week, I think. So,
oh my gosh, I didn't even put two and two together that was them.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Yes. And so, they were commenting on, oh, this is like such a beautiful day unfolding seamlessly. And it really reminded me of the power of when you're working with, that A team of vendors, and, especially just being in the industry and hearing the DIY route, where you hear people are trying to, I'm going to go purely off of price and whatever with their people, and how it's like when you have different vendors vet for different other vendors being like, yep, work with this person, love them. Oh, who do you have here? Who do you need? And that strength of community, because it's like if you can work with people that are, they're not like a lone wolf that's not going to be communicating and doing their own weird timeline and like holding the bride and groom hostage for 2 hours taking photos and totally destroying the procession of everything else coming into place. It really does make a huge difference of when you have vendors that are on their A game. The key thing that the family or the couple's getting is peace of mind, right? They know it's going to be seamless, flawless, easy to unfold, and their mom isn't freaked out in the corner because she's trying to, put things on her plate, right? We want the whole family to be at ease and relaxed and enjoy the day, not just the bride, not just the groom, that everyone can really take a load off and know they're in good hands. Did you, when you were little, what are elements of your personality you saw showing up, like when you're like, were you ever that friend that was like, hey, we're doing a tea party right now, these are the details, like what memories from your childhood can you see, like, oh yeah, that was...
it's funny, there's this one video, and I'm pretty sure it was a VHS, and I think that it got taped over, which is so sad. But I'm one of those people that like loves to watch old videos. But it was for my 5th birthday. I had a tea party, a formal seated tea party. My uncle was the butler. He was in a tuxedo. It was V chic. But we had so it was seated. Everyone, my mom actually used china for 5-year-olds.
Oh my gosh.
Like, yes.
I love your mom.
Everyone, so when they came in, their party favor was everyone wore hats. And we were seated at the dining room table. And in the video, and oh God, I wish we still had this because it's so telling about my personality now. I was giving kind of instruction to my guests, my peasants.
Yes, right.
I was like acting like the queen up there, but telling them, you know, what was going to be happening next. And then I was like, okay, ladies, now we're going to move into the den because we're going to open presents. Except I had a very like thick Southern accent. I was like, we're going to open presents.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Come on, ladies.
Yeah. There's this one part in the video too where I was like, Mama, can you bring me the scissors? And I'm like, oh my God.
That's so
like,
awesome.
Girl, you sound like you were from God knows where. Anyway.
Yep.
So, that I think was really telling. And also too, my parents always thought I'd be an attorney because I would argue everything and I would always to make sure that my point was made. And so they were like, gosh, if this child is not, does not end up
fight for justice.
Yeah. Well, instead I still do feel like I have to make my case a lot of times, but I have to make my case on behalf of clients, So I do think that that's something that I use even today.
For sure.
But yeah, I would say that those were the things that kind of from my childhood that you definitely saw coming up. I would always too be pre-planning for the next party. Okay. Hey mom, next year let's do this. Jacqueline was the same way.
Really?
Yeah, it's so funny. We always talk about that. But yeah, our moms always knew what our theme was going to be. So.
Oh my gosh.
I'm already planning Sloane's second birthday. Her birthday's in February. My mom and I were talking about the favors yesterday. Like, that's so ridiculous and extra.
But whatever. Like, that's your world. I feel like you gotta have a pass. Like, you gotta have a pass of, like, because people are like, oh, like, my Pinterest life, I want it to, but it's like, whatever. Like, that's your own personal, like, for us, it's like our favorite thing is like, let's create a MacGyver mystery around like who doesn't flush the toilet in this building. And like, what's like to build something that's totally just ridiculous. But thinking in a world of video, it makes sense that you're like thinking in like, oh, cute party favors for like however many months from now. That's your passion.
Well, and two, I think a lot of my passion came from my grandmother. My grandmother, she was a big influence on my life, and she's passed now, but even in my own wedding design, I incorporated a lot of things that were a nod to her. This is my mom's mother. Okay. And it's funny, too, because we have very strong genes from that side of the family. My grandmother, my mom, me, and then now my daughter, Sloane, all look very similar.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But so my grandmother, she was an antique dealer and had an antique store. But her favorite thing was china. So she had all of these different varieties of sets of and patterns of china. So when we would come over to her house for dinner, it would be a full-blown place setting. And we would talk about, too, the proper etiquette and how you eat, because you never know who you're going to sit next to at dinner. That was always the way that I was raised. Aww. So, we were put in fine dining situations at an early age so that my parents could take us to the nicer restaurants, or they could take us to places where we would feel comfortable and know how to interact that way. Of course, obviously we're doing a lot of casual things too, but that was really important to me. And so for me, when I design an event, I love a place setting. I love a beautiful plate. I love nice flatware. I think it's really important. A lot of times, if it's a station style event, I get it. Like, let's just do the most affordable plate. But I think that elevates the guest experience. The texture and the linen that you feel on the table, the look of the plate that you're eating off of. And so I think that the reason I think that way is because of my grandmother, honestly. Oh, so
that's so cool.
She also haunts me. Totally.
What's like the voice? Like, what's the one-liners? Like scenarios where you're like, oh.
No, I've like had so many ghostly experiences with her.
Oh God, I just got goosebumps. Like literally. Oh, that's cool.
Yes. Have talked to a medium about it. The whole deal. It is wild, but she for sure. And every time my mom visits, and like times that my mom and my aunt have been in the same room with me in my house, like my grandmother's picture will knock off of the shelf.
I'm like one gigantic.
She's here somewhere today.
Yeah.
I totally. I think that I really do though think that she is around me a lot, and there's been different like situations in my life that things have been going on, and I've had very vivid, I guess they're dreams, but visions, if you will, where she's been in them. And I think that's the way of like kind of communicating to me that I'm making the right choice. Or
that's beautiful, because it's like she's, you know, whatever belief system people are from, it's like there's definitely a common thing of like having those people that are like your cheerleaders, your supporters, like your guides, right? So it sounds like she's definitely like someone that is looking out for you, and being a presence. That is freaking cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I tell so many people my ghost stories, but I swear, like whenever we're out at a out of a plantation somewhere too, or a place that's supposedly haunted, Jacqueline's like, "Oh great, like the ghosts are gonna follow us because Meredith's here," and I'm like, "It's all right. I mean, we'll be good."
Were you ever freaked out like in that experience of having, because there is, I mean, we can pivot this conversation right now and get real weird talking about like I met my best friend in a dream.
Oh, really?
Like before I really knew her.
You've got to talk to my medium.
I had like a message for her, and it's really unusual, but like the whole twin flame, like some of that kind of whatever. Yeah. We can get real esoteric real quick up in this joint. Yeah. But so did you ever have fear whenever you first had any of these like medium like, or
so I've only had fear once, and this was actually recently. I saw a man standing in my bedroom a couple weeks ago in the middle of the night, and he looked very angry. And that's the only time I've ever felt fearful. But I have had other experiences with people that I know. Like I've seen my grandfather in a dream. One of my friends went missing years ago, and unfortunately his case is still open. But I've had visions of him. And I think that was probably his way of telling me that he's gone, but he's okay. And I've had, then my grandmother and different things with her. But the only other time I've seen someone that I haven't known was that guy a couple weeks ago. So what does that mean? Is that ominous? Is like, are we going into something scary?
I mean, okay, let's like go into this because I love this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so the energy, like whenever you saw him, and he was in a state of anger, but then what was the experience you were having? Did you feel fear? What was the experience you had in your body?
I did feel fearful because he looked very angry, and his face was very angry. And I was actually talking to one of my friends who's another planner here, and she was talking about how she goes to a therapist here in Charleston who has told her she's intuitive, and so she's told her that some of those things that she's seen, that they were evil spirits or things were tied to them. However, that her spirit guides or guardian angels or having us were protecting her.
Yeah.
And so I do think that for me, I mean, I grew up a Christian. I am a Christian. I do believe that there's a very thin veil between here and heaven, and I think that we're surrounded by these people. And so, yes, I think there's evil, and I think that there is good too, but I think that sometimes they're just trying to communicate a message. And when we're at our most vulnerable, or when we've had a really hard day, or maybe where our emotions are seeping in, that's when we drop a lot of those barriers that we create. And so that's generally when I've had those experiences of when I've been in a very emotional state and been so depleted that I didn't, have anything else to do but sleep. And so then I would have, a vision or a dream.
Sure.
And that's how I was that day. I was very depleted.
Interesting. One thing that I've heard is that when if someone shows up, like if you have that experience of seeing someone and they're in a negative state, oftentimes there's like a variety of things that I've understood of they're looking for justice, or they're looking for someone to. Oftentimes it's like, they want to share either like how they died or how they were wronged or what the injustice was in their life. And like I have a background with dreams, and like my dream world is like where I have very engaging, unusual things happen, or like lessons, or that kind of thin veil thing you're discussing. And I've heard from like a light worker perspective of like when there is that negative energy, they oftentimes like I've had one moment where I lived right next to this is like the ghost special podcast session.
Well, I mean, it's perfect. It's Halloween week.
I know. So, okay,
the spectacular wedding special.
Yes, it's spooky. No, so, but I lived next to a hospital, like our property lined up next to the hospital. And you think about it, people are coming to life and they're passing away, and so there's a thunderstorm outside, and I was like really looking for this medium experience. Like that was when I had met my best friend. I was doing like a lot of like guided meditation work. I was doing all kinds of opening myself up with intention with that and learning. But he came up our stairs outside, and I was in that state. For me, it's between being awake and being asleep. Like it's like right before I'm like fully conscious.
That's a great way to describe it. Yep.
Yeah. And so he came up our stairs. It was raining, so I was like aware of like what was happening around, and like I sleep like a rock normally, so to be kind of like in that in between. But he came up and he walked into my bedroom, and he was looking for shelter, and I instantly got the hit like he had just passed away, and he was in a night like a hospital gown, and he was looking for where to go. Like the hit I got was he was looking for shelter. He didn't realize that he had passed, and he was like, there was a rainstorm, so he was looking for shelter. But you know, I've understood that oftentimes if someone's if they're lingering around, sometimes they're looking for an energy. They have to have a source to really like pull from. And so that he was looking for something to tether to. And so I remember saying, at first I was unnerved and was like, this is really unusual. I feel a little bit of fear. But then I was like, wait, I don't have to go into fear with this. He's finding his way. And so as someone to be someone that's a source of like hope or light with his journey of if he is passing over right now, you know, I like talked to him in the moment and said like, you know, keep going. Like you're not allowed to stay here. Yeah. But keep going towards the light. You know, like that was my messaging with him.
It's so interesting that you say it like that way, because again, you've got to talk to my medium. This lady is so great. She's in Charlotte, but what she described to me, or you can watch it on her YouTube as well, but she talks about how when people do pass, that there is this transition, and when you're kind of going through almost like a tunnel, if you will. Sure. And that's where she said there's a very thin veil between here and heaven, that we're surrounded by these people. And when you're greeted, that a lot of times you're greeted by, yes, loved ones or people, but you don't necessarily know that that's them. Yeah. But they're the ones that kind of help you and guide you through that. And it's really interesting because she was talking about when she was just out shopping one day, very randomly, a man unfortunately fell in the parking lot, had a heart attack. He passed away there. And she saw these angel-like beings that surrounded him and took him directly up. And she believes that there are some people that go directly to be in the presence of God. She does believe in God. And she said that there are some people, though, that have to be healed before they can be in the presence of angels and God. And that those people have to go to a place of healing and almost like a temple, to where she described it like a person that has Swiss cheese. Like there's holes in them, and they have to go into this place of healing and be made whole again until they can even be available. And so a lot of times when she speaks to spirits, or however she describes it, she says those people are unavailable at that time because they're in a place of healing. So
wow, what?
Yeah,
what?
We have really derailed. But
so awesome! Oh my gosh! Yeah. You've had these experiences. What is one of the craziest experiences you've had? Well,
you know, at the time it was really hard. But what gave me so much comfort during that period, I was about 6 weeks pregnant, and I had a dream or a vision, and it was my grandmother. She was in a rocking chair, and she was holding my baby. The baby was all in white. She had this beautiful pink bow on her, and she was rocking her. And then I went in for my 9-week appointment, and I found out that unfortunately I had miscarried. And the doctor said that I had miscarried at the time of when I had, so the timing lined up.
At the 6 weeks.
And I very much believe that, you know, that was my grandmother's way of saying that she has the baby and that she is there with her. And so I believe it's a girl. I don't know. But it was really hard, but then looking back, it brings me so much comfort and solace to know that she still has her. And, you know, the times when I have spoken to this medium too, she has said, I asked her, because we would have named the baby Caroline, which is my grandmother's name was Carol. Okay. And then we talked to, or my baby now, Sloan, she, her middle name is Caroline. Okay. And so I very much think she looks after her too, because she loved babies. She loved kids. And she, when I talked to the medium, I said, you know, does she have Caroline? And she said, yeah, she's showing me a little girl with her, and you know that she's young and she looks different now, but yeah, that she's with her. And I really do believe that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's like, whoa. Like, I'm just thinking of like when you were in that doctor's appointment and like recognizing that, and then you're like, wait, I had that dream. Like those like subtle...
It was immediate that I thought about that. I mean, and I was, at the time, I was hysterical. And you know, you talk about weddings and having to be completely on. So, you know, that was in February, beginning of wedding season. So I had weddings a couple weeks later. That particular bride, and I will always remember her for this reason, she's one of the only brides that I shared what was going on with, because I did have to, right before her wedding, you know, I had to go in for a D&C, and because I wasn't miscarrying naturally. And so I did let her know, like, hey, I have to go have this procedure. And I will never forget, I don't even know if she remembers because she was really drunk at this point, but we were in the house at Legree wearing, and I was helping her in the bathroom. I was holding up her dress because, yes, I even do that. I was holding up her dress, and I loved this girl. She's so great, and I still keep up with her to this day. But she was just like, I want you to know that, like, you know, I know that it's going to work out for you. I think about you all the time, and I just want you to know I'm there for you. And she had actually sent me flowers before then, too. And that was so meaningful to me. I mean, because, you know, as planners, we're planning people's happiest day of their lives. But they also, you know, don't think necessarily that we have things going on in our life. Sure. And it's like, well, what's your family emergency? Why are you not out of the office? Well, I'm sorry, I didn't want to put up an away message that was like, hey guys, I'm out of the office because I had a miscarriage and I'm having a D&C, you know. But it's one of those things that's hard, because we as business owners and as planners and ambassadors of happiness, if you will, we have to always still put on a face. So, you know, I may have been crying in the bathroom, but not in front of the clients, you know. Yeah. It's like you have to just keep moving.
Yeah.
So that is the hard part of this business. And I mean, I think Jacqueline would tell you too. I mean, she's had to miss one of her grandparents' funerals because we had no other option, because we were double booked that day.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't double book anymore, because we never want to put ourselves in a situation where the other person can't step in for them, because there are things in life that are too important. Yeah. That you don't want to miss, you know?
Oh. So that is like the pinnacle thing of why I wanted to launch this series of featuring the behind the scenes people of the event industry to showcase like the human element. And we've talked about this, I don't know how many times, you know, but it's like, how can we show, like, yes, you know, we provide incredible services, you know, experiences, benefits for people, but also like, who are the people behind the service? Like, who are they as humans, you know, and what makes them tick? And like, I've even thought of, I was getting a massage yesterday with my masseuse guy that like I you know, just one of those vendors, like people that add so much value in my life. And I was like, I should have on my website, like, like great gifts or like tips, right? And be like, I'm going to just put all my favorite, like put Mark up there, put all my people of like, if you really want to go above and beyond, here's the way I like to be pampered. But like, those simple, subtle things of like, you know, that's so beautiful that bride at the time, you know, was so thoughtful and like got you those flowers. And you, weddings I've done with you, I feel like the caliber of the heart energy of some of those clients, like, you know, I think of like Chelsea Anna and like the truffle salt and the like, you know, just the radical generosity, you know, there's a common theme of you attract very generously minded clients. Like,
most of the time. Yeah. I mean, and I think that another vendor actually told me this recently. They were telling Jacqueline and I both, what's great about our relationships with our clients is that we actually have a relationship. And I think that that's probably what's different about us and a lot of other planners. We really do invest in these people. I mean, they have to like us because we're talking to them as much as, probably more than sometimes their best friend during the week. I mean, we are emailing constantly. We're texting, we're in a meeting. So if they don't like us and we don't have a good rapport going, then it shows. And so we really need to be on the same page and have people that we care about, but they care about us too. I have a current mother of the bride who I adore, and during the hurricane, when we were evacuating, she sent me a text and she was like, now honey, if you need shelter, you just come on down to my house and we'll make sure you're taken care of. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Charlotte, my parents are close by, but like, how incredible is that? That like, I haven't even done her daughter's wedding yet, but that she would offer me shelter from a storm, it was so sweet. I mean, those are the kind of people that we like doing business for, and those are the kind of people that Mama always said that you attract more flies with honey than vinegar, right? So you don't if you are ugly to people. I mean, and my stepdaughter hates when I say that because she lives in Chicago and she's like, are you calling me ugly? No, I'm not calling you ugly. That's like the Southern way of saying like you're being like rude to somebody. But if you're not nice to people and you treat them like they are beneath you or they are not good enough, then on the day of, I mean, it's hard for us as vendors to want to go above and beyond. But let me tell you, if you treat me with respect and you're nice to me, girl, I'm going to be paying for stuff on the side for you. I'm going to be like rolling out the red carpet for you. And I think that that's sometimes what gets lost on clients. Sometimes I think that people in the event industry in general are considered to be the help. I mean, for lack of a better term. And it shows. I mean, it makes us not feel good. I mean, you talk about the human side. I mean, there have been times where I've been spoken to in a way that is less than desirable, and you go home and that hits you. And I've had a million wonderful clients that have said wonderful things about me, but the ones that don't, those are the ones that I remember. Well, that's hard.
And it's also like, I mean, we film whatever experience, we're documenting all of it, and then we spend, if we're 8 hours on site, then we're 40 hours in post-production, so we can be like, oh, let's psychoanalyze this person. It's like you can see the play-by-play or like notice, I feel like in film we're like just constantly observing people. It's like our biggest thing is bearing witness to people's celebrations and like taking in a family dynamic, and even seeing seeing Emily and Melissa and their family again. It was so, even like I'd say a third of their wedding guests were at they
are the sweetest family.
They're literally the nicest humans we've ever met.
Melissa, every time she would call me, her sweet little voice, oh gosh, I loved her.
I saw Connie and started crying. Like, I was like, I walked in and I was like, Connie, like, oh my God, like this, like I am inspired by, I mean, we're just on such a high from.
She was one of the most encouraging mothers of the bride too. She always had something nice to say.
Always. Like, I will never forget. It's like they're, for those of you that don't know this family intimately, so it was, so they're a group, there's 5 sisters in this beautiful, beautiful family, North Carolina family.
Can you imagine having 5 girls?
Oh my gosh. Bless Chip. That's all I have to say. But
for real.
But I remember when they were all getting ready, that everyone was saying nothing but kind, sweet things. The energy was like relaxed and supportive, and like there was such a gentleness. And I feel like usually, like if there's a bunch of bridesmaids getting ready, it's like someone's like, oh gosh, like I gotta do this. Oh man, I gotta do it. Like it's just like there's someone that's a little bit gnarly, or there's like drama. And it's not even about, like, I just felt such a level of presence with their family and how every member of the family was there to be supportive, and I didn't feel like there was anyone that was trying to like steal the show or compete,
because that's what it's about. I mean, and I think that I mean, I don't want to say everyone, but there are people that forget that. Unfortunately, it's like the forest for the trees of like, oh, I'm so wrapped up, and it's like,
Yeah, all the dynamic stories that we all swap as vendors of like, oh, well, that got so out of hand. I can't believe that, person in the wedding party did that. Like that I didn't see that coming. That escalated quickly. Like whatever
there's always one groomsman. There's always a rascal in the crew.
Oh, yeah.
And you can usually pinpoint them pretty early on.
He usually asks Madeline to marry him. I mean, that's kind of a common, that's a common move that's been happening recently.
For us at Sam, they always ask her out to like go out afterwards. They're like, you're coming to the bar with us, right? She's like, no. The last thing I want to do after being on my feet for 15 hours is go and drink with you,
That's
sir.
so funny. Yes. That's so funny.
I feel like I've been hit by a Mack truck at the end of the night.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to hang out with you.
Ooh, okay. So what's your favorite? Do you have an unwinding ritual or like anything you like to do to decompress after really like days of buildup? Like what does your like self-care look like?
Well, I never schedule anything the day after a wedding because you feel like death.
You're like hungover. It's literally like a hangover.
100%. Like a hangover times 10.
Yeah.
It's like take how you felt after prom and then like multiply that by 30. That's how you feel as a wedding planner after the day of. So I try and do the night before. I'll try and take a bath and do like a pre-soak. They say it's good for your muscles. Still doesn't make me feel
I still feel like crap.
But but I do it. Post-wedding, I mean, honestly, when I walk in the house, y'all, I limp in like a grandmother. I mean, I genuinely like, hobble across the room and Dan's like, what? Like, what's up? What's going on with you? I'm like, my feet, they just hurt so bad.
Yeah.
But I dislocated and broke my ankle a couple years ago. And so ever since then, I've got plates on either side. So it especially hurts my feet. So post-wedding, I usually have to go and if I've been on a plantation, wash the filth off my feet because it's foul. Oh, yeah. And then... you have to take a shower post-day. But then the week after, I try and go and get a massage. I try and do that pretty regularly anyway. Yeah. Just because a lot of wedding planning is manual labor, and people don't get that.
Yeah.
I get these interns that come on site, and they're like, oh, I'm going to be like J-Lo. Or it's like, now this generation, they don't even know what that movie is. Yeah. But they come on and they're like, this is gonna be fabulous, we're gonna go to parties, you're gonna take me to all the cool stuff in town.
You're like, you can carry this bucket of flowers.
I'm like, that's like 3% of our job. And we're gonna go to those. You're not going to because you've worked hard enough to get to that point. But yes, then you've got to carry this in. And also I realize it weighs 50 pounds, but like, don't hurt yourself. Because
cross train girl.
Yeah. And so usually we can tell with an intern after about first wedding, we'll give them grace in the first one, but definitely by the second one, whether they can make it in this business or not. And a lot of them don't want to. I mean, I will never. So I have a past intern that I still keep up with. I hope she listens to this because she will love a shout out. My girl Holt. She now is up in New York and she like has a really cool she job. She's like working for Gucci. And she really upgraded from me. Ugh, I tell her that all the time. I'm like, wow, Sweetgrass to Gucci. But can you get your girl a discount?
Come on.
I already asked that. I did genuinely ask that. And she straight up told me then, she was like, that was terrible. I don't know how y'all do this. I never want to do this. I don't want to do it. I loved being in your office. Your office is so fun. If I could have you guys as bosses, I totally would, but it's terrible.
And
I was like, well, I mean, at least you're honest. And she still says that to this day.
So good.
But it's not for everybody. You know, it really isn't. I mean, and you have to have a lot of patience and you have to be able to give up your weekends, which is something that, like, at this point in our career, Jacqueline and I, it's hard for us because we miss a lot of the stuff with our kids. I mean, so we've tried to scale back in a way that, Jacqueline can make it to her son's soccer games or I can actually see my child before she goes to bed because she's going to bed at 7:30. So by the time I get home, I mean, I get maybe 45 minutes with her a day. I mean, and that's hard. You feel like a terrible mom, and so I think that's a battle that a lot of people in the wedding industry have that we don't talk about, is that we have people that have families and kids. We have a really hard time with that and the balance of that and the guilt that comes with it because we're in the service industry, so we want to give our clients the best. but then our family gets the rest.
Yeah.
And that's not always enough for them, and that can be really hard. And so we're still trying to figure out that, the balance of how to make that work and how to be able to give our family enough attention and also give our clients, the best too. But I mean, part of it is setting boundaries, and that's hard to do in a world of having constant ways of communicating.
And you're managing timelines and build up and vendors. I mean, there's such a multifaceted process. And I find, like, for myself, like from a self-care perspective, my biggest challenge is being like, I'm going to say no to whatever and say yes to me, say yes to myself, versus like, well, I'll just fill it with another obligatory, like, oh, I need to like do stuff around the house, versus being like, what would I like to experience, and what do I need? Like that level of true, nurturing. Otherwise, like, how can you really sustain, a business that does demand a lot, and does demand a lot physically, and also, like, you're there for, like, I loved, a happiness ambassador, using that kind of term of, we want to support people. Like, the biggest thing I say that what we're selling as videographers is, it's like, yes, we're going to create a beautiful video. There's a dime a dozen of us in this town. There's amazing artists here and amazing people that know how to film well. But what we offer at Ruby Riot is like, we got your back.
Right.
And we're going to make sure that, you have peace of mind of knowing, like, we're not just there to be like, oh, okay, that was a good clip, I'm going to record that. Okay, whatever. But being like, hey, like, let me fix your hair for this. Like, you look great. Oh, by the way, like, I love this. Like, we want to make them feel good.
And that's the difference in a quality event partner and someone that is not, because there are so many options in this town, and people are like, oh, well, why do you charge the way that you do? Well, because I'm completely committing to you that day. I'm committing my entire team to you that day. I'm also going to, really be very available to you throughout the process. And in addition to that, what people don't understand is I'm not managing just my team that day. I'm managing about probably 100 people that day.
All of the teams.
So not only their bridal party, but everybody. I have to make sure everyone is keeping on timeline. And so that's a daunting task and a little bit stressful. And kind of going back to the self-care, I am not one of those people that's embarrassed to say this. I very much believe in therapy too. That's a big part of my self-care. I believe in talking to someone. I'm a talker anyway, so if I can get a person in the room where they just sit and listen to me, yes. But that for me has been a total game changer, because I mean, if you don't have at that outlet, and I think that is something we are seeing. It's really interesting, because when I was at a conference recently, one of the sub-sessions was on mental health in the wedding industry. It's something where we are, as, like you said, ambassadors of happiness in all, and no matter what our role is in the event, we always all have to be on. And when we step away from that, and when we have all the rest of the stuff going on in our life, it's something that you have to deal with. I mean, and a lot of people don't. And so I will tell you, and this is something that I heard too at that conference, I mean, the statistic across the country, I mean, even for people in general, but especially in the wedding industry, the amount of us that were on antidepressants or everything else, I mean, it's pretty rampant. And so it's very important, I think, in this business especially, to make sure that you take care of yourself, or else you're not going to be able to take care of your clients well. And I think your clients need to be able to be open and receptive to that by you having those days where, hey, I've got to take today because I didn't get Saturday, I didn't get Sunday, so I got to take this Wednesday because I got to go to the grocery store, girl.
Yeah.
I got to be able to, like, stock the pantry to feed my child.
Yeah.
And
just being like, I need to sit and, like, watch some shows to just be able to, like, get, just have a little bit to take your breath, because otherwise it's like, that burnout. And I think that, I use this illustration a lot of, like, we've been filming in Charleston going on 5 years now. And so, and since then, like, even, I mean, that's like, think of like Instagram 5 years ago, right? Like, it's like, it wasn't as like
Was it even out then?
It was.
It just
but it was
came out.
like, it's kind of like, oh, you go there. It wasn't what it is now. I feel like it's, so.
I think hashtags just came out like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that's when the hashtag thing just started.
I know. Whenever I first heard a hashtag, I don't know what I thought
People were like, what? Like the pound sign?
Yeah. Like pound. But there's 2 shelf lives of people that work in like an event industry, or, and I feel like it's like a cousin of the food and bev industry as well.
Oh, for sure.
So it's like either you get into weddings and you love it, you breathe it, you're all about it, and it's this vibrant thing and you're inspired perpetually, or it's like you get in, you do a season, you do 2 seasons, you do 3 seasons, and it's like you either like hang it up and you're like, I freaking hate this, and you see, it's like with other vendors in the industry, you feel that like, oh, like, hey, so nice to meet you, whatever. And you hear these undertones of like, oh yeah, well, this couple, or like, oh, just another wedding. And it's like, we lose sight of like, how blessed are we that we get to be a part of someone's day, that it's like, it doesn't matter if we've done 300 weddings. It's like, this is this couple and their family's first day of anything ever being like this. And there'll never be another day like this in this combination for this family. And like tapping into that energy of empathy and like support for, having an amazing day. Because it doesn't matter if you've done 4 weddings in a row. It's like, this is unique for each couple. And that's something that I don't really think that you can teach someone to have that heart energy. No. And it's like, that's like from our, with my team, I've brought people on, let people go, all the journey along the way. And it's like, that is the number one thing. Like, I can teach someone how to work a camera, but I can't teach someone. It's an intrinsic value of like care and gratitude and like just, that energy of like, you're really holding, just that positive weight for that couple and their family to like just have a day where they are truly supported. Like that is the real role, I think, of wedding vendors, and in 2019, 2020, 2021, like just being able to offer that level of service truly.
Yeah. And it's like the same for us. I can teach logistics all day long, and I can teach someone how I would style a table, but I can't teach creativity. You either have it or you don't. I mean, it's either ingrained in you or not. And so as a designer, I know what my style is, and I'm pretty good at tapping into people's personal style. And then even though it may not be something that I would have done for my wedding, like, you want to rock out, this look? Sure, I can do it. But what is really hard for me too, as a creative person and as a designer, is when I come to a client and I say to them, okay, here's this thing, and I can draw it for you, but they're like, oh, but I've never seen it. I'm like, that's the point. Like, but they're like, oh, but I want you to show it to me on Pinterest. Well, why do people want to be at the tail end of a trend, not on the front end of a trend?
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's really hard for me. And 2, it becomes a thing, especially in this town where people are like, oh, well, so-and-so, did that arrangement last weekend, and so-and-so's doing this weekend. Well, guess what? There's nothing new under the sun. And also, too, like, yes, they did a greenery arrangement, but you're not reinventing the wheel here.
Yeah.
But I do like times where I can be innovative and be on the front end of a trend. I know that it's going to be done again, and I know it's going to be something that, because the wedding designs are cyclical.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me when a client is not open to things that are new. And because that's ultimately why you're paying me. Anyone can run logistics.
Yeah.
I mean, well, not anyone, but a lot of people can.
Yeah.
But if you have someone that can run logistics and be creative at the same time, that's where their worth is.
Yeah.
And so that's been my challenge of the last couple years. Some are awesome and are like, yes, girl, run with it.
Yeah.
And those are the clients that ultimately end up getting featured on places like Over the Moon, or all of my big features have always been clients that have said, Meredith, run with it. And I'm open to your ideas. I can't see it, but you can see it, so go for it.
Yeah.
And I just wish more people would be like that, because it'd be better stuff for you to film too,
I mean, definitely the like creative elements of it.
Yeah.
I know. This has been amazing. Meredith, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you? What are what are your website, your Instagram, social media? What's the best way for people?
Yeah, so if you go to our Instagram, Sweetgrass Social, our website is linked to it, sweetgrasssocial.com. All of our individual email addresses are also listed on there.
Okay.
I'm big about putting our email addresses out there. Holler at your girl if you want to talk.
Come on.
Meredith at sweetgrasssocial.com. Follow me on Instagram at Meredith Tanton. I am not a private profile. Slide into my DMs if you will.
Check me out.
I'm totally open. I love to talk to people. I love to make new friends. So even if you just want to, talk ghost stories, I'm your girl. I mean, I'm not a medium, but you never know.
I mean, this is definitely...
My dad is going... if my dad listens to this, he will keel over because he'll be so upset that I talked about mediums because...
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go in a hell in a handbasket.
Oh, gosh. Bless.
Yeah.
Just bless.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so
you.
much for sharing your energy.
It's been so fun.
Being here. And for our listeners, for our viewers, thank you so much for watching and listening. Please be sure to like, subscribe. If you want to hear more ghost stories, let us know. And thank you so much. I hope that you live a life filled with passion today and you make some stories worth telling. Bye.